I was finding voice. I opened up a process of memory that I wanted to be engaged in. It accumulates till you follow, like an ellipses, the dots of your own family history and chronology. Within that, of course, I have a responsibility in the stories I choose to tell.
Bernice Eisenstein is a Toronto-based artist whose work explores memory and trauma. She is the author of the graphic novel, I Was a Child of Holocaust Survivors.
When I did start the book, it originated from painting my father. My father had been dead a few years. I missed him. I also realized I was not concerned with just a portrait of what he looked like. Just like memory goes inside something, I wanted to make him come alive as I understood his essence. My father was silent, deep-feeling, intuitive, had a great understanding of me, and a ferocious love for his family. My parents were like passionately in love. That goes with like the full range of passion. They found each other. When asked how my parents met, the first thing is a joke. They met at camp. Sadly, a concentration camp. They were both in Auschwitz. My father was in Auschwitz the last 11 months. My mother was in longer, 43. When the death march occurred, my mother could not go on the death march. She had been very, very sick, so she did not join my aunt, my grandmother. She hid with some friends. My father stayed behind with a few friends. I think there's just when the war was ending and at the camp, it's complete chaos. That's their first step. Their first step is a moment of liberation that came from terrible destruction, terrible anguish. They first go to DP camps in the end. Once they've tried seeking out who survived or didn't, then they emigrate. They emigrated in '48 when there were cousins in Toronto who sponsored them, and they came over. And I was born not too long after that.
Is it possible that children of survivors inherit trauma, that history can actually imprint itself on our genetic code? A 2015 study found Holocaust survivors had changes to a gene associated with stress, as did their children, who were born after the Holocaust. But the research is still emerging, and it's too soon to say definitively that trauma is inherited. For Bernice, what was inherited is less tangible. It's an understanding from a young age that her family was different.
It's like osmosis. You slowly learn an environment. It's not a Holocaust environment, but an environment of what your family makes. So earlier times that I would sense I would know it's different is when it would be Yom Kippur. I would be really, really young, and it's a table full of candles, of memorial candles.
After World War II, Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann was arrested but escaped before trial. He lived in Argentina for nearly 10 years until he was captured by Israel.
In Jerusalem, the trial of Adolf Eichmann begins.
His trial was the first widely televised prosecution that brought the horrific actions of the Nazis to a worldwide audience.
Der Führer hat die physische Vernichtung des Judentums befohlen.
It's 1961 and Eichmann is on trial and the whole world is watching, and my family is watching in our basement in the den. I don't think there was any explanation given to me. They wouldn't have done that. But I'm there and I'm seeing images on television and aware of the weight of solemnity. It's heavy, it's quiet, and it's stark in the way that it imprints on me as not just a memory, as a place of reflection. This is part of them. This is not something that they're watching out of great interest. This belongs to them. This is part of their past, and this is also part of the past of all the survivors.
Her parents' past shaped Bernice's own loneliness and anger. To understand that pain, she dove into researching the Holocaust, consuming every book and movie on the subject that she could get a hold of.
Where you think of an addiction is an activity, a continual activity, a habitual activity. It's one you return to. And that fit. It fit for me. It doesn't mean every moment you're looking for a fix, but the addiction is always there. In its place is a moral compass, which guided me, and it's a path I followed intuitively and then through books and through films. So yes, it is part of my identity. It is my inheritance. It's very much a sensibility in the way I look out into the world, which means it's imbued in my art, whatever I'm making. I won't say when I draw a pear, that's a Holocaust pear. It's not. But it's a relationship to what I feel about the world. The Holocaust became a prism of glass, and I'm looking through the light that goes through and seeing where all the various places that it goes to. I understand shadows. I think that's a good thing to understand. I think it comes straight from the Holocaust. It's not black and white.
Bernice also understood that solace could be found in friends and community.
When I grew up, there was just, we called them the group, because that is how they were referred to, that is what they were. They were all survivors, all with numbers on their arms. Time makes life move forward, and they move with it. And they had celebrations. When they could celebrate, they celebrated at the drop of a hat, joyously, more joyously than I've seen other groups or other individuals do. They were grateful to be alive. They, as a group, were each other's home. They replaced the meaning of home. I'd say that's one aspect that I understand well of how you survive.
It's been more than a decade since the publication of I Was a Child of Holocaust Survivors. Bernice says she's glad the book exists because the need to remember seems more urgent than ever.
White power! White power every day! Stop against tyranny! Power!
Times are terrible. There's a lot more anti-Semitism everywhere, which means there's a lot more hatred, and means people are more comfortable making these expressions, and that's terrifying. And the question is always like, how much do we learn from history? History repeats itself. There's 9 million quotes about it. I think I feel there's I won't say greater truth, a truth I understand better comes through memory than through history.
While Bernice did not live through her parents' history, she has been defined by it. And while they may no longer be here to share their stories, Bernice believes it's her responsibility to keep those memories alive.
Survivors are almost all gone, and we are the generation of the next witnesses to memory. And I think we're at a kind of a paradigm shift of understanding memory, because once your witnesses go, you have to consider your responsibility to what you've learned and heard.